All right, so I want to talk a little bit about the Piece TCG. And if you go through my channel, you'll see that I have just random thoughts, whether it's a side hustle or just things to do with money. And it's been a few years. To be honest with you, I was making videos before and I was making them at such a fast pace, I got burned out. That's 100%. Content creator burnout is real, especially when you don't have a lot of subscribers. But, anyways, I'm restarting this just as a way to capture some of the things that I have going on in the TCG space. Now, you'll see in my channel that I have a boatload of Lego. And my plan is, although some of them were profitable, actually, the majority of the Lego that I purchased has gone up in value. One of the challenges I faced was between the shipping costs and the fees to sell them, that the returns really haven't been as great, right? Something can be up 100%, but then by the time you take out fees and taxes, you might be looking at 50% or 40% profit. And if that's over 2 to 3 years, sure, you're looking at 10 to 15 to 20% returns, which is great. But when you consider the labor involved, it's a lot. So that's why I took a little break from Lego investing. But anyways, I'm going to move and be liquidating my Lego positions and moving into TCG, trading card games, and specifically going to be looking at One Piece and Pokemon. So I started purchasing some Pokemon cards maybe about a year ago, actually, when TikTok had their TikTok shop sales, and they were pretty much giving away product. Bought a whole bunch of them, and of course, with the hype that's around them now, buying Crown Zenith boxes, for example, not on TikTok shop, but on Amazon for $40, selling them for 120, within the year, and of course, now seeing them over 200. So just like with the stock market, it's interesting. You buy, you win some, you lose some. Selling and getting out of a position is always the hardest. But anyways, here we are. So you'll see these videos moving forward. Just wanted to make this little video, and I'm showing you this screen in particular because this was a thesis that I came across on Reddit that I thought was pretty interesting. And as I'm getting into the trading card, part hobbyist because I do like it. I'm going to be building a collection of both One Piece and Pokemon, but primarily, to be honest with you, it's going to be just investing or buying some, holding for, just like with my Lego, holding for, few years, unless things just go parabolic and out of control. And then, might be selling just to buy more with the ultimate goal, again, of whether you say churning product or just making money. So anyway, sorry for the long intro. Let's get into it. So this thesis that I have here that I found on Reddit, interesting idea. And it really had me thinking in terms of when looking at cards to purchase, what is the thesis or the why behind it? And then I was thinking the other day, I said, well, maybe we should take the opposite approach just for a little bit and say, well, what is the reason not to buy? Right? So when I look at these cards, the thesis that was stated here was that we have cheaper versions of more popular cards that have the potential, this person was saying, have the potential to increase in value. So just to show you here, what they said was right here was the, let's say, alternate art version of the card. Or yeah, we'll say the alternate art version. And then right here was going to be the manga version or the more expensive version. So we look right here with the Gol D Roger card, and you can see this one right here, and this was posted on September the 6th. So this one right here is worth, let's just say, about $3,000. And then at the time when they posted this guy, he was, you could get the card for $32. So it's about a 1%. This card was valued at 1% of this card. Same thing here with the Year 5 Luffy, this one being a manga card. I'm close to 3,000, and let's say this was $33. Same thing with the Shanks here and here. You have the Oda, the signed card of the Gold Luffy, and then this one right here it was $750, and then this one right here, very similar design. So the thesis was that, hey, it's going to increase in value. And of course, it had mixed reviews on Reddit. Of course, One Piece TCG is a lot smaller than Pokemon, so I don't know, maybe it had 20 comments or 15, something like that. But the idea being, when we look at these cards, I started to think and say, you know what, this is interesting because will in time, in One Piece, being that it's new, will in time these cards increase in value? Kind of uncharted territory. Sure, we can look to Pokemon and other games to see, other TCGs to see how they've performed. But if you look here, like at this Gol Roger, from the time this was posted, so we're looking about 20 days later, it was $30. And now we see consistent sales. Take out, we see consistent sales. Here's a zero seller here, but we're looking at approximately $40. And actually, to save time, I'm just going to click here. All right, so we see sales about $40 here. So it's already increased for some reason. And I noticed this even when I signed in. TCG Player doesn't seem to be reporting this correctly. Because I'm pretty sure there's more than 56 cards or 6 cards that were sold, in the month. So not sure what's going on there. But anyways, then we move to the Shanks card, same thing. This one here, this chart's a little bit updated. And you flip back over, you see that it was $15.50. So 20 days later, it's up to about $20. $25 there. Then we can go to the Gear 5 Luffy. It was 33. Lightly played for 8. Near mints looks like roughly 11, 13, 11. And then we come up here. And like I said, I know a couple of days ago when I looked at this was in the 2000s. So I know this is not really up to date. But you see some sales here. Let's look here. Today, one sale. Yesterday, quite a few sales. Day before, quite a few on the 22nd. So you can see there's pretty good purchases. Okay. And we'll jump over here. Same thing with this one. Monkey D. Luffy. And Gear 5 card. I don't know, I said his full name. Anyways, come over here. It's 42 currently listed, but you can see this is already, it's in the 50s. And this is just TCG Player. I guess eBay, we'd have to check that out too. But you can see here, so sales in the 40s and 50s. Sales in the 40s and 50s. And at the time, so about 20 days ago, it was in the 30s. And then finally, we come here. This one hasn't picked up much traction. I personally like the art. I think they call it the egghead. What you're going to call it, the egghead, design there. And this is from 500 years in the future. See, 81 in stock. Also looking too at the total, sales here, and especially on some of these older sets, pretty interesting to see. I think of these cards, again, back to what I started with, and I'll wrap this up, but it's this idea of why wouldn't this card, let me go back over here, sorry. Why wouldn't these cards go up in value? I guess that's the question, right? This one's coming out of, what set's this one coming out? Okay, these are OP5 right here. This one's OP9. This one's OP5. This one's Romance Dawn, the first, out of the first set created. OP9 popular. OP5 popular. OP5 popular. And then this one, 500 years in the future. Like I said, it's more so for the design, I believe. So I do agree with this person's thesis. I do believe that we're going to see these cards increase. And again, I guess the purpose of this video is just saying, why not? And as we continue, we have OP13 coming out shortly. And as we continue to see more and more of these sets, and these start to get older, and people start looking for, if you will, the top cards out of these sets, will these not rise to the top? And of course, you can put in the comments, I only have like 100 subscribers, but you can put in the comments if there's other cards that you feel are meeting that same thesis. And I think more importantly, it's just this idea of what I liked about the post was this idea of having a thesis and kind of knowing the why behind the purchases that are being made. So as I'm continuing to increase my position in One Piece and eventually Pokemon, side note, I'm going to be looking to increase or to really be buying up some Prismatic Evolutions because I know they have a reprint or restock, whatever you want to call it, coming here, I believe sometime in October. And again, just thinking like, where are there opportunities in the market and getting them before they just pop off and everybody, floods the market. And also, thinking 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now, what are these cards what prices are they going to be out? With One Piece, is the game still going to be popular? And in that time span, will there be opportunities for, just huge gains in some of these popular cards? All right, enough of that. Thanks for watching, and we'll revisit it in a few months.